but they all disappear.
You've been playing these songs at cookouts, in the car, at the slow dance section of every party you can remember. You know every word. But there's something most people never stop to ask. Who sang it first? Because some of the most iconic R&B records in history, the ones that feel like they were born that way, were built on songs these groups didn't write, didn't create, and in a few cases barely wanted to record. This is the list. Number 10, the Flamingos. The Flamingos were a Chicago doo-wop group, 5 voices that could harmonize in a way that felt almost unhuman, like they were sharing one nervous system. In 1959, their version of I Only Have Eyes for You climbed to number 11 on the Hot 100 and number 3 on R&B, their highest charting single, the song people remember them for. That song was already 25 years old when they cut it. It was written in 1934 for a Hollywood film called Dames. Bright, bouncy, big band, Dick Powell singing it to Ruby Keeler on a movie screen. Nothing haunted about it. Nothing that would suggest what was coming. What the Flamingos did to it was something close to alchemy. That eerie, floating, reverb-soaked effect underneath the melody, the doo-bop, shbop drifting in from somewhere just out of reach, that wasn't in any arrangement. Arranger Terry Buzzy Johnson invented it in the studio. Lead singer Nate Nelson gave him 3 words of direction: go way out. Johnson went so far out they barely recognized their own record. Producer George Goldner didn't even want to release it as a single. He thought it wasn't commercial. Radio DJs had a different opinion. They spun it off the album so often that Goldner was forced to press it as a 45. It landed in the Grammy Hall of Fame in 2003. Rolling Stone put it at number 158 on their 500 greatest songs. The Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inducted the Flamingos in 2001. A 1934 movie tune turned into something that sounds like it was made for midnight, for first love, for the moment a song comes on and everything else stops. If that's ever happened to you with this one, drop it in the comments. We're going to see a lot of hands on this list.
But they all disappear.
Number 9, the Pointer Sisters. The Pointer Sisters were 4 sisters from Oakland who moved between funk, jazz, country, and pop like it cost them nothing. They won a Grammy for country in 1975, then came back in 1979 with something nobody saw coming, a rock hit that went to number 2 on the Hot 100, their first gold single, and in Anita Pointer's own words, the song that made a total difference in their career. It was called Fire, and Bruce Springsteen wrote it. And he wrote it for Elvis Presley. Springsteen was so certain the song belonged to Elvis that he cut a demo and sent it over. The timing was the problem. Elvis died on August 16, 1977, before the song ever arrived. Springsteen shelved it. A rockabilly singer named Robert Gordon eventually released it in 1978. It went nowhere. Then producer Richard Perry sat the Pointer Sisters down and played them a tape. Not a polished record, just Bruce's voice over a rough track, a demo that had been sitting in a drawer for 2 years. The sisters heard something in it that still hadn't been unlocked. Here's the detail worth sitting with. At the moment Fire climbed to number 2, Springsteen's own biggest pop hit was Born to Run, which had peaked at number 23. The song he wrote for the king of rock and roll went higher in 4 weeks with 4 sisters from Oakland than Springsteen himself had ever charted. There are versions of the story where Springsteen wasn't exactly thrilled about that. You can understand why. You can also look at the record and understand why the Pointer Sisters were. Real talk. Only 9% of you are subscribed. That hurts. We're spending hours digging through archives, fact-checking every detail, bringing these stories back to life. And if you're watching this far, you clearly care. So hit subscribe. It's free and takes 2 seconds. Now, to my subscribers, barely any of you have joined the membership. And honestly, that stings even more. You know the work we put in. You keep coming back. If these videos have ever made you feel something, if this music means something to you, join the membership. It's $1 coffee a month, and it's the only way we keep this going. Let's build this together. All right, back to it. Number 8, Club Nouveau. You know, Lean on Me. Bill Withers wrote it in 1972. One of the most human songs ever recorded. Number 1, simple. The kind of record people play at funerals and graduations and quiet Sunday mornings, and it works every single time. What most people forget is that a completely different version hit number 1 15 years later, and the story behind it is equal parts triumph and quiet irony. Club Nouveau, a Sacramento R&B group, took Lean on Me and rebuilt it from the frame up. Drum machine, cold electronic bass line, new wave production straight out of 1987. It hit number 1 on the Hot 100 for 2 weeks in March of that year. Number 1 on Dance, one of only 9 songs in chart history to reach number 1 twice with 2 different artists. At the Grammys, the song won Best R&B Song. The award went to Bill Withers because that's a songwriter's prize. Club Nouveau had the number 1 record and no statue. Now here's the part that cuts deep. Bill Withers wasn't even in the industry when it happened. He'd walked away from music in 1985. He felt the business had become too focused on image and not enough on truth, and he was done. Retired. Completely out. His song hit number 1 while he was sitting at home. The Grammy royalty check arrived anyway. The 2 producers behind Club Nouveau's version, Denzel Foster and Thomas McElroy, left the group shortly after the hit. They went on to produce En Vogue and TLC, 2 defining acts of the decade that followed. The number 1 was Club Nouveau's peak. For Foster and McElroy, it was just orientation. And the man who wrote the song was already gone before any of it happened. Number 7, The Fifth Dimension. Spring of 1969. Everything from 1968 is still in the air. And then a 5-piece soul group from Los Angeles parks at number 1 for 6 weeks with a medley from a Broadway musical most of America hadn't seen. 3 million copies, record of the year, the number 2 song of the entire year, behind only In the Year 2525. That's where Aquarius / Let the Sunshine In landed. The story of how they got there starts with a lost wallet in a New York City cab. Billy Davis Jr. left his wallet somewhere in the back of a taxi. The man who found it and tracked Davis down to return it was connected to Hair, the controversial Broadway musical that had opened in 1968. As a thank you, he handed Davis complimentary tickets to see the show. Davis brought the group. They watched the whole thing, walked out, and immediately called producer Bones Howe from New York. We've got to cut this song. Howe's response was direct. This isn't a complete song. He was right. Aquarius and Let the Sunshine In were 2 separate numbers from the show. Different keys, different tempos, different emotional register. They weren't designed to go together, but Hal flew out to see the show himself. And in the car on the way home, the idea hit him, smashed them into one medley. Two distinct songs stitched together in a way the writers of Hair had never conceived. The result hit #1 in April 1969 and didn't move for 6 weeks. And when the Apollo 13 crew launched the following year, they named their lunar module Aquarius, partly as a reference to this song. A Broadway number transformed into a soul meditation became the name of the spacecraft that brought 3 astronauts home alive. Number 6, The Temptations. By 1972, The Temptations were already legends, but producer Norman Whitfield had one more statement to make, and the lead singer of the group didn't want any part of it. Papa Was a Rolling Stone had already been recorded 6 months earlier by The Undisputed Truth, another Motown act. Their version peaked at number 24. Decent record, forgotten inside a year. When Whitfield brought the song to The Temptations, Dennis Edwards said no, not because of the music, because of one line. It was the 3rd of September. That day I'll always remember. Edwards' father had died on October 3rd, not September 3rd, but close enough to open something. He was convinced Whitfield had chosen that date deliberately to pull exactly the kind of torn open performance the producer was hearing in his head. Whether that was intentional is still debated. What isn't debated is what came out of it. 3 Grammy Awards, Best R&B Song, Best R&B Vocal Performance by a Group, Best R&B Instrumental Performance. The album version runs 11 minutes and 46 seconds. It was the last major Motown hit recorded in Studio A in Detroit before the company moved to Los Angeles, the same room where My Girl was made, where the Supremes' entire run was built. The Temptations closed that room with this. Most people today assume the Temptations wrote Papa Was a Rolling Stone, that it could only have come from them. That assumption is the final proof of what a great performance can do. It makes borrowed feel permanent. Number 5, Gladys Knight and the Pips. If you've heard Midnight Train to Georgia and you have, you know the moment, not the whole song. That specific moment when Gladys just drops her voice and says, I got to go, I got to go. That sounds like something that happened by accident. It wasn't. The song started as something completely different. Jim Weatherly wrote it in 1972 as Midnight Plane to Houston after a phone call with Farrah Fawcett. Yes, the Farrah Fawcett, who mentioned she was taking a midnight plane to Houston to visit family. Weatherly wrote the whole song in about 40 minutes. He wrote it as a country number. Cissy Houston, Whitney Houston's mother, recorded the first version. The record stalled, it barely charted. Then it landed with Gladys Knight. She sang her lead vocal in one take. Her brother Bubba pulled her aside before she went in. When you get to the end, ad-lib it. Say whatever feels right. What felt right was, I got to go, I got to go. And then the Pips behind her, superstar, but he didn't get far, doing the call and response they'd been building since they were teenagers together in Atlanta. Before any of them knew what was coming, this was their debut single on Buddha Records. They had spent years at Motown being overshadowed. Marvin Gaye, The Temptations, Diana Ross all had priority. Gladys Knight and the Pips existed in that second tier, extraordinary and underused. When they finally got a fresh start, this was the first thing out of the gate. Number 1 in October 1973, Grammy for Best R&B Vocal Performance, a country song written in 40 minutes, first recorded by someone else, reborn in one afternoon, one take, with a woman who already knew exactly what she was doing. Number 4, Ike and Tina Turner. Whatever you already know about Ike and Tina Turner before the music starts, most people know something by now. There's one moment that belongs entirely to Tina, built with her voice and her instincts and nothing else. That moment is Proud Mary. John Fogerty wrote the original for Creedence Clearwater Revival, number 2 on the Hot 100 in 1969. Rolling on the River, steady as a rock, instantly recognizable, one of the great feel-good records of the era. Ike wasn't immediately sold. It was actually a different version that changed his mind. Not CCR, but the Checkmates Limited, a cover produced by Phil Spector with a more dramatic theatrical arrangement. That production caught Ike's ear. It moved the song closer to where he thought it could go. When they needed material fast during a session, Tina made the suggestion, record songs they were already doing live. They already knew how to make Proud Mary work in front of an audience. Why not put it on tape? The arrangement they used, the slow burn intro, nice and easy before the tempo breaks open into something that could power a city, that was Tina's concept, worked out sitting in their car outside the studio. Their version came out in 1971, number 4 pop, number 5 R&B, over 1 million copies sold. Grammy for Best R&B Vocal Performance by a Group. Exactly 2 years to the week after Creedence had peaked with the original, CCR went to number 2. Tina's version technically charted lower. But ask anyone alive today which version lives rent-free in their head. There's only one answer. Who did it better, Tina or Fogerty? Drop it below. That debate has no wrong answer, and I mean that. Number 3, The Spinners. The Spinners spent a decade at Motown watching from the wings. Not a metaphor. They literally watched the Temptations and the Four Tops build the legacy while they waited for something that never fully arrived. When they left and signed with Atlantic Records in 1972, they built something remarkable with what they had left. Working My Way Back to You came near the end of that run, 1979. Nobody expected it to be their biggest pop moment. The original was a 4 seasons record from 1966. Frankie Valli falsetto, tight harmonies, peaked at number 9. A solid record that lived in the B tier of their catalog and didn't travel far. Producer Michael Zager took that 4-season song, wrote a brand new bridge called Forgive Me Girl, and handed the whole thing to the Spinners as a medley. Late disco era, soul fighting for breathing room on pop radio. It hit number 2 on the Hot 100 in the spring of 1980. The 2 weeks it sat at number 2, the record blocking it was Another Brick in the Wall by Pink Floyd. The Spinners, a soul vocal group out of Detroit, held at the second spot by one of the biggest rock records in history. In the UK, they went all the way to number 1. Four Seasons peaked at 9. The Spinners took it to number 2 in America and number 1 in the UK. 14 years later, with a bridge that didn't even exist in the original version. Some artists have to wait a long time for the right song to come around. The Spinners waited their whole careers. Then it came, holding a borrowed melody, and it was everything.
I don't need all those things that used to bring me joy.
Number 2, the Isley Brothers.
Say that you need me, say that you want me, you wanna please.
Before It's Your Thing, before Fight the Power, before the Isley Brothers became one of the longest running acts in American music history, there was a flop. Not their flop, somebody else's. In 1961, a group called the Top Notes walked into Atlantic Studios and recorded a song called Shake It Up, Baby. Phil Spector produced it. It was, by the admission of the people in the room, a disaster. Atlantic co-founder Jerry Wexler described the session later. Phil changed the middle around. We had the wrong tempo, the wrong feel. The songwriter, a young Burt Burns, sat watching from the spectator's booth as his song got taken apart and rebuilt wrong. When it was done, he said 3 words: "Man, you fucked it up."
Come on now, say, come on now, say, come on now.
The record flopped. The Top Notes disappeared. Burns held onto the song for a year. Then he brought it to 3 brothers from Cincinnati who hadn't had a hit in 3 years since Shout. He produced it himself the way he'd always heard it. New bridge, 4 ascending notes, the tempo building to a fever pitch, Ronald Isley's voice climbing until it broke through the ceiling. The song was supposed to be the B-side. Ronald Isley later said none of them thought it would do much. Twist and Shout hit number 2 on the R&B chart and number 17 on the Hot 100 in 1962. Their first top 40 hit on pop. The money went directly into starting their own T-Neck Records label in 1964, which later became the home of It's Your Thing, Fight the Power, and 5 more decades of everything that followed. A year later, 4 musicians from Liverpool heard the Isley Brothers' version and copied the arrangement almost note for note.
When you used to be 9 years old,
John Lennon recorded his vocal at the end of a 10-hour session with his voice nearly gone in a single take. Engineers who were in that room call it the most famous single take in rock history. A song Phil Spector broke. Burt Burns fixed it. The Isley Brothers made it matter. The Beatles made it immortal. And the Isley Brothers didn't even want it on the A-side. Number 1, the Platters. January 1959. The number 1 song in America is the Chipmunk Song. Alvin, Theodore, Simon, holding down the top spot for 4 consecutive weeks with a novelty holiday record. And sitting right there at number 2 for 4 straight weeks, waiting behind 3 animated chipmunks, is Smoke Gets in Your Eyes by the Platters. When the Chipmunk Song finally fell, the Platters went to number 1. 3 weeks, their highest charting Hot 100 single ever. The song was written in 1933. Not the 1950s, a 1933. Jerome Kern and Otto Harbach wrote it for a Broadway musical called Roberta, performed on stage by a Russian actress before most of the Platters were even born. It had been recorded by Paul Whiteman, Glenn Miller, Nat King Cole, Harry Belafonte, Sarah Vaughan. 26 years of versions. None of them became the definitive one. Then 5 people from Los Angeles with harmonies that could stop a room from any direction got hold of it. And that was it.
Feeling divine, I love you then.
Here's what nobody mentions when they talk about this record. Jerome Kern's widow tried to stop its distribution. When she heard what the Platters had done to her late husband's melody, doo-wop arrangement, R&B rhythm underneath a piece she considered serious composition, she initiated legal action. She wanted the record pulled. She would not allow it. She dropped the lawsuit when she was informed of how many copies were selling and how large the royalty payments were going to be. The lyricist Otto Harbach had a completely different reaction. He praised the Platters specifically for reviving his song with taste.
I still feel that feeling deep.
Jerome Kern's widow took the royalty checks and went home. Smoke Gets in Your Eyes is in the Grammy Hall of Fame. It's in American Graffiti, The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, Twin Peaks. It has lived in the background of every decade since 1959 because it sounds like something outside of time altogether.
Love you.
26 years between the first performance and the #1 recording. The widow tried to stop it. The royalties changed her mind. And you have heard this song 100 times without once thinking of it as a cover.
You might